and technology comments. The Great Pyramids, or pyramids in general, are terrible tombs. So I'm not going to go into the full aspect of how terrible the Great Pyramid is for a tomb, but I will point out the fact, and I always like mention the story, is the way I always saw the pyramids when I was a kid. I always thought that the pyramids were like palaces, right? The pyramids were the castles where the pharaoh lived, not where you bury them. Because think about it logically, a pyramid, since we know how it's what it's made of and stuff, is just a whole bunch of pile of rocks, and then you just put an important person, aka a pharaoh, in there. So you stuff a pharaoh in a pile of rocks. You polish it nice and white on the outside and call it a tomb. Is like, nah. If I was a pharaoh, I'd be disrespected. Feel very disrespected of the idea of that being a tomb. It's like a tomb should be, glorious. It should be special. It should be a temple, right? Because it's ironic how all the temples look way better than the Great Pyramid itself. Yet people act like the Great Pyramid itself is better designed and better looking than the temples. Makes no sense. And then we have the Valley of the Kings, which are actual tombs. I don't debate that. I don't disagree with that. They look like exactly what I expect a tomb to look like. All decorated, all decked out, a whole bunch of rooms and chambers with the bodies, right, the coffins and stuff like that, and the belongings. It looks like luxury apartments. That's what I expect a tomb to look like. But this prime real estate, the fact that you got this whole big ass space and you piled a whole bunch of rocks on that space on the Giza Plateau to create the Great Pyramid, and all it is just to stuff a dead guy in there. Very disrespectful to me, in my viewpoint. I don't like that idea. Plus, I'm not gonna go into how disrespectful it is to have a whole bunch of tourists going in and out of somebody's grave or somebody's final resting place. But this is how we saw the pyramids. When I was a kid, I always thought that that's what the pyramids were palaces. That they would have entrances, right? Walkways, right? The reason why it's four-sided, because it's a structure, right? And they would have a whole bunch of rooms. And right here, Sim has a whole bunch of pyramids that you can play inside of in the game. See, it says Sim 4 house built, and it's a pyramid. It's like, yeah, that's what I expect a pyramid to be. I expect a pyramid to be a structure, a house, have a whole bunch of rooms. The tippy top, right, the pointy top at the top would be like an attic area, or maybe just where the air comes in for ventilation, and it just comes in and comes down, and it cools the inside of the pyramid, because desert's hot, so of course you need some air conditioning. So you would think that it being a pyramid shape, four sides and stuff like that, is so it can capture wind from different angles, and then the air shafts will be to bring the air in to cool the pyramid, because if you're living in it, you need some AC and you need some air, right? You don't want to be, claustrophobic, and you don't want to be, you don't want to suffocate because of all this carbon dioxide you're creating when you exhale. So that kind of stuff. So that's why I always saw the pyramid as, it's just, they were ancient structures, right? There's a lot of hollowness in it, right? Because there's a whole bunch of chambers, a whole bunch of spaces. They have multiple floors, and that would have been cool. And then, add the fact that, like in this image, you see there's like terrace on it, or balconies, whatever you call them, terrace, balconies, whatever. In fact, that's kind of cool. So you can be up high, you can look around your kingdom, and walk around the pyramid, because there's actually a balcony thing on it. And you can look around, you can look at the Nile River. That's what I always thought it was just like the Great Pyramid and all the other pyramids was that. It was like, it was the homes, the palaces of the pharaohs. But then to find out there were quote unquote tombs, like, that's terrible. My idea was better. It being their house, being their palace, was a way better idea. it made more sense to be like, yeah, I want a big giant palace, big giant palace. I'm, you know, because I'm Khufu and I want a big palace. I want to flex and I want a lot of space. I'm gonna have a lot of kids and I need space for all the kids. You know, that kind of stuff. Like you expect that to be the case, not like, yeah, I'm gonna die, make a big giant, you know, mountain of stone and throw my ass in there, and that's what me, the pharaoh, deserves. When I die, I deserve to be thrown into a pile of rocks. That don't make no sense. That's just not logical. That's not the flex Khufu thinks it is. Being buried, being put into a big mountain of stone, man-made mountain. Not really a flex. For all that, they could have just traveled to a mountain, dig a tunnel, made a tomb in there, right? Put the pharaoh in there, and then just collapsed the tunnel, and there buried the pharaoh in an actual mountain. You know what I mean? And then that's it. And that'd be the end of that. And it's just it'll be easier. Why make a man-made, you know, mountain for? In many ways, it's a waste of time. You have to be very narcissistic to be like, yeah, I want a man-made, you know, mountain, and then be buried in there. Like what? You're not happy just being buried somewhere that's already exists, like an actual mountain? Or why not make a temple and get buried in there? You know what I mean? I just disagree with the idea that the pyramids are tombs, because they're the worst types of tombs you can ever be buried in. But okay, that's just my